Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nuganomics with David Toulis.
The story we've been following here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio for the past year and a half has been what I call sky striping. This is the tattooing of the sky, the disfigurement of the sky, the envenoming even of the air over our county and our city by polluting jets. So what are these jets doing up there? Why are their plumes not disappearing right after the jet passes a bit of air? Why do the plumes persist? In fact, become over time, with numerous crisscrossings of jet traffic over the county, clouds, they become a haze, a kind of haze pot. Chattanooga, once known as the country's most polluted city from ground pollution, now seems to be the victim of air pollution of some kind. So what is the nature of that pollution? Is it deliberate? Is it all accidental? Is it something in the nature of the fuel? Are jets burning green fuel and then running tracks around Chattanooga to lay down this stripe? What is the story? To help close the gap on our understanding today, we've got Dr. J. Marvin Herndon. He's a geophysicist and a nuclear chemist. His website is nuclearplanet.com, and he's a warhorse, you might say, in the world of science. He has many papers that he has written about the nature of the planet, with discussions, for example, one paper is called Terracentric Nuclear Fission Georeactor, a review article, and he has studies about the interior of the Earth, nuclear fission in the middle of the Earth, and things of that kind. He has a very long record of publishing. And last year, something came to his notice, something that is of interest to you, my listener, here in Chattanooga. And you, my listener, if you are watching us on YouTube from a faraway place, we certainly welcome you as well. Dr. Herndon, your paper, the most recent paper that has created a firestorm of controversy, is on the point of the particulate matter laid by jets apparently as a matter of policy over your town. You are from San Diego, and you used to have always blue skies in San Diego. What happened?
Well, what happened is that the spraying that apparently has been going on, the spraying of particulate matter into the troposphere, the lower atmosphere, that has been going on for perhaps 15 years on a sporadic basis, since about 2013, has been ramped up to a full operational level. And when this happened in San Diego, I became concerned and wondered, well, what is being sprayed? And that started me thinking about the measurements people had made and posted on the internet. Many people have collected rainwater samples and posted the analyses on the internet. Of course, when you don't know what's being sprayed, you don't know what elements to analyze for. And generally speaking, people have typically analyzed for two elements, aluminum and barium, because these elements have been mentioned in some patents that are perhaps related to geoengineering. Occasionally, someone would also measure strontium. So these three elements, aluminum, barium, and strontium, in rainwater, started me thinking. The barium and strontium behave very similar chemically. They're in the same column, the group 2A elements on the periodic table. Their behavior is similar. And if you take, for example, a piece of cement, which has a lot of calcium in it, and you analyze it, you'll find strontium and also a little bit of barium in there, because they behave similarly. And that was a tip-off to me that maybe what we're dealing with is a natural substance, or at one time was a natural substance, because I couldn't see why an artificial substance they would make with both barium and strontium. It seemed more reasonable that if they were just spraying a chemical, that they would spray, more or less a pure chemical. And so I thought back to some research I had done, many years ago, where I related the parts of the inside of the Earth to a particular type of meteorite. And I did this by looking at ratios. Ratio is one element divided by another. Because with ratios, for example, you can compare a tree trunk to a toothpick. And that's basically what I did. I knew that whatever it is that was being put into the air, water extracted elements from it. Now, people have done measurements about what elements are extracted from coal fly ash by water. In fact, some researchers in Spain did some very thorough experiments. And basically what I did was I compared their results to the rainwater results for barium, strontium, and aluminum, and found that the proportions were really quite similar. And so that resulted in the first paper that I published in the scientific literature, identifying coal fly ashes as the possible substance that was being sprayed. Science is a pursuit of truth, and this is the way science should be. But unfortunately, the scientific community has been largely funded by the government since 1951 and has been subject to some rules that were made, including reviews by one's competitors, where the reviewer is given anonymity, secret reviews. And so the science community has evolved in a way so people protect themselves. They don't challenge the consensus mentality, because if you challenge somebody's work, they're very likely they're going to get to review one of your proposals for funding and say some negative things. So this is unfortunately what had happened in the science community. And so geoscientists never questioned what it is they're spraying. In fact, they don't even mention the spraying. Even those people who study phenomenon that's happening in the atmosphere. So this was the first thing.
Even people who are very much for the environment don't look in the sky. Even environmentalists, Environmental Defense Fund.
They may look in the sky, or if they look in the sky and they see what is happening, they keep quiet about it because they don't want to lose their funding. And this even applies to agencies or to nonprofit organizations, for example, because if there's a fear that if they talk about something the government is doing, then the IRS might decide that they are not really nonprofit organizations. You recall during the last political election, there were allegations of the IRS being involved in a political way when they shouldn't have been. So this is all of these hesitancies are fear-based.
This is David Toulis. This is David Toulis. We're talking with Dr. Marvin Herndon, a geophysicist and nuclear chemist from San Diego, and he has published very recently a paper that has created a great controversy now over the substance of the emissions from jets, including those jets we are summarizing over Chattanooga, where we have major sky striping days. It's also called chemtrailing. It's kind of a shorthand. And these are efforts that alter the weather patterns. Now, Dr. Herndon, let me ask about your theory. Your thesis is that coal fly ash is the main material that's put into the air by the method of aerosolization. So tell us briefly how aerosols are created, how it is that fly ash that comes out of coal burning furnaces and the waste product, how that is, first of all, how that's dispersed, and then also what are the benefits of it? Why is it seen as a benefit to use that over some other thing that might require more expense or more complexity in the manufacture of? What are the benefits of fly ash?
Let me start in a little bit backward way of saying it. Suppose that you ask the question, where does the substance come from that is being sprayed? I mean, it's quite obvious from the extent of spraying that perhaps millions of tons per year are presently being sprayed. In fact, maybe many millions of tons per year. Where do these fine particles come from? Now, if there was a mining operation of that scale to mine rock and then pulverize it to mill it down to a very, very fine powder, there would be a huge manufacturing, mining facilities, production facilities. And this would be evident to people. One of the things that people say is, well, where are the production facilities? Well, when coal is burned by utilities, it produces ash. And there are basically two kinds of ash. There's a heavy ash that settles out. And there's what's called fly ash. That's the very fine particles that used to go up the smokestack. But now, because it's a hazardous material, there are regulations that require coal fly ash to be trapped electrostatically and sequestered, usually in lined ponds. The utilities have the production facilities for trapping vast amounts of coal fly ash and processing this material. And there's increasing pressure from the utilities and their representatives to encourage commercial use. And for example, in cement. And yet it's also used in such questionable circumstances as a agricultural fill, a fertilizer for organic gardeners, which is very strange. It's very strange because during the formation of coal, many trace elements, toxic trace elements, such as mercury, such as arsenic, chromium-6, a whole slew of trace elements are trapped in the coal. And when coal burns, many of these trace elements go up the chimney and precipitate or collect on coal fly ash. The coal fly ash is loaded with toxic chemicals. And so this is the substance that is a waste product for utilities, and they want to get rid of rather than paying the cost of storing it. And there have been some spectacular accidents where storage facilities have been compromised, have ruptured and spilled into the community. There was one that happened in Tennessee in 2009. And so this is not the toxic material is known. And this is a product that's a waste product for the utilities, and it's a product that's a very fine grained material that is, in a sense, ideal for geoengineering, if ideal doesn't include the adverse health effects.
Well, let's talk about the ideals, Dr. Herndon. You're saying that this is cheap material. It has many of the fine qualities needed to have a vast geoengineering program. What are list the advantages of coal fly ash? Why is it good? How does it work? Does the aluminum content of this ash help make it reflective, serving thereby the national policy purposes of deflecting sunlight?
Well, that's a good question. First of all, the production figure that is often quoted for coal fly ash is in the U.S. 140 million tons a year, and of course much more worldwide. And it's used. I have good evidence that this is the main component that is being used for ongoing geoengineering. Now, it's important first to separate these ideas. The academic community, the scientists at universities, talk about geoengineering as if it's some activity that might happen in the future. The reality is that geoengineering has been ongoing in a covert way for perhaps 15 years, with ramping up to full scale in the last several years. There's another difference. The academic community talks about putting reflecting substances in the stratosphere, in the upper atmosphere, which doesn't really mix with the air people breathe, and where substances remain suspended for perhaps 2 years. Whereas what is being observed is the spraying is in the troposphere, the lower atmosphere that mixes with the air people breathe. And so the spraying has to be done on a more or less continuous basis, because the particles fall out. They come to Earth. They rain down. They mix in the air that people breathe. So there's a fundamental difference between what the academics are saying and what presumably is being done by the military in the lower atmosphere. Now, what about coal fly ash, and how does it behave? Well, when you make artificial clouds with coal fly ash, yes, it reflects sunlight. It acts as a shield, but it also holds heat in. So there's a real question in my mind as to what the net effect is. Are we simply cooling the Earth, or are we keeping more heat in and in fact warming the Earth? Plus, the coal fly ash that settles on areas of snow and ice tends to help absorb heat from the sun, leading to melting of ice. Coal fly ash also has two effects on weather. In the first place, if you were to put fine particles in the air, they would dilute the little rain droplets, so they would have trouble getting together and becoming big enough drops to be rain and fall to Earth. Well, coal fly ash does that. But coal fly ash does something else. It's hygroscopic. In other words, it absorbs water. So it inhibits rainfall in that manner also. Now, eventually, if it were to inhibit rainfall over a period of time, eventually there would be enough moisture accumulated to have rainfall, and when you did, you'd have serious rainfall. It's rather like stress. You can add stress to something, like you can bend a piece of brittle material and produce stress in it up to a point, and then you reach the limit, and the thing shatters and breaks, and the stress is all of a sudden released. Well, this is like what happens with moisture in the air. you can inhibit the formation of rainfall, as I think is happening in California. We've had a drought now for several years, and but the weather moves from west to east, so you can inhibit rainfall in the clouds, which move on to the east, and eventually there becomes enough saturation of moisture that you have torrents of rain, perhaps in the middle of the Midwest, and you have floods. And this is what the consequence. Now, you might ask the question, why are people doing this?
Well, we're going to talk about that in the next segment. We're talking with J. Marvin Herndon. This is David Toulis. We're having an interview live at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with a geophysicist and a nuclear chemist who has a remarkable study that has just come out about the content of the sky striping program that's taking place over his town, San Diego, and may well be the content of what is sprayed over the air even here today in Chattanooga. This is David Toulis. I've got some things I want you to hear. Hang on.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. South Carolina officials asking for water donations for Columbia area residents after days of flooding. Chris Johnson helped evacuate his neighborhood.
A very stubborn old lady would not leave, so we actually had to pick her up and carry her out.
The weather there is calming down.
However, river flooding will continue to be the big concern over the next several days, with some rivers not forecast to crest at flood levels until this weekend.
Fox meteorologist Maria Molina. More details coming out about the gunman in last week's deadly Oregon shooting.
A couple of pages of writings left behind by the gunman who killed 9 people at Umpqua Community College point to worries about not having a girlfriend and feelings that while he was rational, those around him weren't.
Fox Radio's Tanya J. Powers. President Obama will visit the town Friday. Prosecutors say former UN General Assembly President John Ash took $500,000 in bribes from a Chinese real estate mogul and others to help them get government contracts. Fox News report.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Toulis.
This is David Toulis. We're brought to you by Raphael's Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant. The great deal is you get 2 pizzas for the price of 1. That's Raphael's Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant in Hickson, Soddy Daisy, and on Taft Highway on Signal Mountain. And if you have a cell phone problem, make sure you contact Cell Surgeon in Northgate Mall by the Chicago Pizza. Cell Surgeon, your surgeon waits to perform surgery on your device and restore it to good health. 668-0100, 668-0100. And also remember, there's a great sale going on at Carter Shooting Supply, ammo, weapons, and let every man be armed and pray is what I would suggest. Following the advice of our Lieutenant Governor, Ron Ramsey, who says that every Christian man should bear arms. And he, of course, you can obtain permission to do that from the legislature through the State Department of Safety and Homeland Insecurity. You can become a licensed concealed carrier and be ready to defend women and children as needed in light of the threat of the hopped out assailant, consumer of pharmacy products, and the other who is a consumer of the Quran. We're talking with J. Marvin Herndon, who is a geophysicist and a nuclear chemist in San Diego. And last year, he looked up in the sky and he remarked something as a longtime scientist. He's been an author of many, many very deep and profound and no doubt mystifying scientific papers about the Earth and its core and many other topics. He noticed something, and that was that the blue sky of San Diego had disappeared. It had just gone away. And the cause is anthropogenic, meaning it comes from man. Now, the question is who these men are, what are they flying around to make that sky go away, and what is it they are depositing in the skies over his town? Dr. Herndon, your theory is that that there's a waste product which is the basis of the federal spraying program that is being enacted under the veil or behind the veil of national security. What is that product, and how does it work?
Okay, let me correct one word you said.
Please
My
do.
theory. I would rather say that I have scientific evidence that supports the identification of the substance as combustion coal fly ash. Now, that doesn't mean that it necessarily is that, except the evidence is very strong that it is, and there are experiments underway presently to obtain unimpeachable evidence. Just recently, some experiments were undertaken with aircraft trying to catch this particulate matter as it's being discharged from the jets. These experiments haven't been analyzed yet, and it's already becoming evident that probably the next round of experiments will involve the use of a jet to fly behind the tanker jets to collect the evidence. But as the situation stands, there's very strong evidence that the substance being sprayed is coal combustion fly ash. Just to recap briefly, when utilities burn coal, the heavy ash settles out, the very fine particles, the fly ash, they used to go up the smokestack, are trapped and mandated to be trapped with electrostatic precipitators. These are the very fine materials that contain a lot of toxic substances. And this material, I believe, is the main ingredient that's being sprayed. And the spraying, look, the military has made it publicly, information publicly available that they intend to control the weather by 2025. This was a statement made back in the 1990s. And weaponizing weather has been something that's been being done for a long time. There were things done during the Vietnam War, for example. The idea was to cause rainfall, to make the Ho Chi Minh Trail impassable. There's the idea that you could have an enemy and you cause a drought and cause him to starve or his food crops to desiccate and die. This is where the military is headed in one sense, but there's more of a question as to controlling the weather, whether the military really has the good intentions of cooling the earth to combat supposed global warming, or whether the purpose is to heat the earth, perhaps to cause the Arctic to melt, to get at make it easier to get at the oil resources beneath the Arctic, and perhaps to open the frozen Northwest Passage. There's a lot of question as to what is happening and why it's happening, and I suspect that since the military now has literally a carte blanche to spray whatever they want to spray over humans for research and development, it said, they probably test everything they can that might have some military significance. I mean, the military has a long history of doing experiments on people. So this is what's happening, and so now we have to ask the question: what does coal fly ash do once it's sprayed into the lower atmosphere. And then we ask the question, what are the potential effects on people?
Well, can we start with the first part of that question, Dr. Herndon? And that would be, why coal fly ash? How does it work? Why does it serve the purposes of the deep state, if you will, or the good people, as I call them? Why fly ash? What are the favorable properties of that particulate matter?
Well, it's already comes in it's a byproduct. It's a waste product that's produced in vast quantities, and it comes in very fine grain sizes naturally, and can be reduced by, for example, milling with cyclone classifiers, they're called, to separate even the finer particles out. Fine particles are useful for spraying because they tend to stay in the air for a little while. They tend to shield the sun. They cause sunlight to be reflected, but they also hold heat in when sprayed in the lower atmosphere, artificial clouds. And so it really becomes a question of, what is the net effect? Is it heating, keeping the heat in and ultimately heating the earth, or is it reflecting more sunlight and causing it to cool the earth? And then there are the ancillary effects that prevents rainfall, that inhibits rainfall. I mean, ultimately, they'll get enough water concentration that it'll pour, literally pour. But by inhibiting rainfall, it also adds to the heating of the earth. That is another point.
We could say that the heating of the earth by the use of the sky dome, the creation of the sky dome, if you want, it is. But
by heating the earth, I say it means that not allowing the heat that comes into the earth to leave again.
Right, and that should happen at night, right?
We live in a state of equilibrium. Ideally, the amount of heat that comes into the surface of the earth is equal to the amount of heat that leaves the surface of the earth, and we have a net balance of 0. Now, if you shift that equilibrium by putting in artificial clouds that keep some of the heat from leaving the earth, then you end up with a net warming effect. And this is what I think may be happening with the spraying. And nobody in the science community really talks about what's going on. They're probably not. They're probably told not to talk about it, or they sense that if they mention something, they might lose their grants and ultimately end up becoming unemployed. So it's the coal fly ash is an ideal substance for weather modification. You can prevent rainfall. You can change the weather in a profound way, and even direct the movement of clouds. But there's a price to be paid, and the price to be paid comes from the toxic substances that are part of coal fly ash, and this is one of the best kept secrets. I mean, you hear that the government can't keep secrets. It's kept a pretty good secret about what is being sprayed. There's a major disinformation campaign to convince people, well, these trails are really contrails, ice crystals formed by exhaust from jet aircraft. Well, that's nonsense. In San Diego, one rarely, if ever, finds contrails. This is before the spraying, because we live in a very warm and dry climate, whereas contrails form in a cold and humid environment. Moreover, what happens to these artificial clouds is that they disperse and become a white haze in the sky. I mean, the San Diego sky is more often than not now looks like it has a white haze. This white haze is characteristic of very small particles scattering sunlight. And that's so there's a lot of disinformation, false information, the public being deceived by what is going on. And there's good reason for the deception, because coal fly ash is a toxic nightmare. First of all, the particles are very small, so when you inhale them, they embed deeply into the lungs. And they're even small enough to go through the skin, to be ingested, to eaten, and even to go through the eyes. And when these particles contact water in your body, moisture in your body, they can release toxic substances, including aluminum in a chemically mobile form.
Describe that. What does that mean?
Go ahead.
What is that? Talk about a little bit about aluminum, because aluminum is in the air all the time in Chattanooga. We have constant readings from the 7 county and city pollution control bureau monitors of aluminum, strontium, and barium. These are, as you say, the aluminum at least is toxic. What are the? Talk about maybe one of those 3 or all 3 of them as toxic elements for my listener who is breathing them in even as we speak to each other on the phone, Dr. Herndon.
Well, you'll also find a host of other toxic elements in the air, including arsenic and chromium and mercury that come from coal fly ash. But aluminum is particularly heinous, and this is the reason. Aluminum is an abundant element in the crust of the earth, something like 8%. But chemically, it's locked up tight as aluminum oxides and aluminum oxides in silicates. And so the creatures of the earth, including humans, evolved or came to live on the earth in never exposed to aluminum that could move around chemically. Now, back in the 1970s, there was a lot of concern about acid rain caused by sulfur dioxide emissions from coal burning power plants, for example, that when combined with water in the atmosphere made the rain acid. And acid rain was considered dangerous because acid will extract aluminum in a chemically mobile form from certain materials, such as mine tailings, and that makes it available to do things like kill whole forests. And so serious efforts were made to eliminate acid rain. Well, this is the same thing that's happening with coal fly ash and neutral water, or the kind of water that rainfall is slightly acid. And in experiments with distilled water, water extracts toxic elements from coal fly ash, including aluminum in a form that's mobile. So what this means is that it makes aluminum available to creatures of the earth, including plants, and it's toxic. Now, aluminum has been implicated in neurological diseases, Alzheimer's, for example, autism, Parkinson's disease, attention deficit disorder. All of these things have shown significant growth during the 15 years that this geoengineering has been taking place. This is a major, major concern, and I suggest that if the medical data is honestly preserved and presented, that since about 2013, there'll probably be a very sharp spike in the occurrence of these neurological diseases. Incidentally, I'm sure you're familiar with the demise of a large portion of the bee population, the honeybee population.
Yes.
Well, some scientists in the UK discovered that bees, when they get aluminum in their brain, they have some behavior that's similar to Alzheimer's. They forget what their job is, and they eventually die. I suspect that there are a lot of populations of creatures and plants as well that are suffering from this spraying, because the spraying introduces aluminum into the environment in a chemically mobile form, in a form that can get into plants and into animals and into people.
This is David Toulis. We're talking with Dr. Marvin Herndon, who is a geophysicist and a nuclear chemist. He's in San Diego, and he's published just a few days ago a very important paper that is now in dispute. It's in dispute by you might say establishment interests that have tried to squash and spike his analysis. It's a 16-page academic paper, and I urge you to go to Nuganomics.com, the website in Chattanooga that covers local economy and the free markets, and as it turns out to be, with a Christian and libertarian angle, is the premier environment-oriented, environment-friendly media platform in Chattanooga, making the argument that we need to stop pollution, especially if it comes from parties unknown who have the helm of government in the steering wheel of government in at least one of their many tentacled hands. Dr. Herndon says that coal fly ash is the waste product that's used in the stratospheric and tropospheric aerosol modification program, which is often called chemtrailing, but that's an old military word. It's really SAG, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. And Dr. Herndon, let me just ask you to speculate about how it is that that this is legal. How is it that there is a wall of secrecy, a wall of privacy, if you will, behind this operation that involves military people, and how is it that they're satisfied that they're not doing something wrong? What is the argument that the well-intentioned military people running this program and the contractors, what is the argument given to them that allays their moral hazard concerns, their concerns about maybe doing something damaging to the people of this country? How are they told that this is okay?
I'm not sure that I know the answer to that question. I have brought this attention to the mayor, the city council, and the chief of police of San Diego on several occasions, and I've never received an answer as to why they don't at least warn the most at-risk people, the pregnant women, the children, the elderly, the persons who have compromised respiratory systems or immune systems. Why don't they at least warn these people? I suspect that at a superficial level, they were told that geoengineering is necessary to save the earth. But I wonder whether maybe Congress passed some secret legislation authorizing this kind of program. The Congress doesn't seem to notice what's going on or care what's going on. You would think this would be a really hot political issue because it involves the safety of people. But where are our elected representatives? Why do they not question? What kind of official coercion has been put into play? This is a good question, and it's a question I do not know the answer to.
Well, we would have to surmise J. Marvin Herndon, the geophysicist and nuclear chemist, chatting with us here from San Diego. We would have to surmise that they're on the part of military people who are just employees, that they're not acting in bad faith, that they're being told this program of which you are a part serves an important, vital national security interest. We are combating global warming. We're combating climate change, etc. And you have a part to play. You just need to be quiet about it because it is sort of off the books. It's not something that's publicized in the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, and you dare not speak to those entities about it.
Well, there's one thing I'll bet, and that is that none of these officials have been told what is being sprayed or what are the health implications, the risks to the population that gets exposed to it. I'll bet they are being misled, just as there's a conscious effort to try to deceive the public as to the nature of the spraying.
Well, Dr. Herndon, I want to thank you for chatting with me and my listener here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and giving us the time from your office in San Diego.
Well, thank you. It's important to bring this information to the public. I appreciate the opportunity.
And your website is nuclearplanet.com, nuclearplanet.com. Is that right?
That's correct. And please feel free to visit.
This is David Toulis. We're talking with Marvin Herndon, who's the geophysicist, and he has written a very important paper that advances the story of stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, a major advance in the story. And he is conducting further tests to indicate that the so-called chemtrailing program worldwide, even here over Hamilton County and Chattanooga, is TVA waste product. Let's put it shorthand. Waste product from the burning of coal, and that's called fly ash. Coal fly ash is the content of the spraying program, and that is being done behind the veil of secrecy, behind the wall of national security. And your health, my listener, is suffering even now. This is David Toulis.